Hi everyone, I'm Allie. Join us as we do the Let Bicones Be Bicones bracelet. We're going to be using 4 sizes of Potomac Crystal bicones. So if you need any materials, check out the description of the YouTube video or on the side here if you're on our website. Gather up your materials, put them on a bead on it board, and let's get started. So we have our bicones set up here. We've got our 2mm, 3mm, 4mm, and 6mm. In addition to that, you've got 15 O's and 11 O seed beads. And then I have my cabochon here to go on my Potomac Infinite clasp. This is a 2-needle project. We're going to be coming down the bracelet and starting with the units here. And once we get to the end, we're going to tie off and finish up. So the first thing you need to do is actually attach your clasp. I have on my project a 2 size 11 needles, and I have 0.006 or that size 6 gray dragon thread. I have on this 5 feet of thread my infinite clasp in the middle of the thread with a needle on either end. The first thing we're going to do is add some seed beads to the end to get our clasp ready to kind of reinforce. So I want to take 1, 2, and 3 11-0 seed beads and put them on both the right and the left needles. Once I do that, I'm going to grab my first 6mm bead, and the 6mm bead we're going to crisscross through. So one needle is going to go right to left and the other left to right. When I pull this, I want to make sure that I have equal amounts of thread on both sides of the clasp. So when you're going in here and you have this nice and tightly pulled and you have that V, make sure you have the same amount of thread on each side. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to reinforce that clasp. Since we're not coming back through, I'm going back through the 11-0 seed beads, back through that soldered loop on the infinite clasp, back through the 11-0s on the opposite side, and then back through the 6mm bicone and hang out there. With the thread that's currently on the left, I'm going to do the same thing. So that way we have 3 strands of thread going through the start of the bracelet. Once I go back through there, we're going to pan in a little bit closer and we'll get ready to start our first component. After finishing reinforcing the clasp, you're going to put on each side of your bead a collection of beads that are going to be the first pass always for each unit. It's 115, 111, 3 2s, 11, 15. You want that on both the right side and the left side of your needle. From here, we're going to pick up our next 6mm bead, and every time we pick up a 6mm bead, we're crossing through it, meaning one threaded needle is going to go from the right to the left, and the other from the left to the right. Pull those down close, and that gets us our first little loop. Now, you can do this bracelet where you do each step in one go round, going up and down the bracelet. So if you get confused a little bit with this next step, you can continue on with this and then come back down the bracelet. I'm going to be doing the bracelet and doing all the same at the same time. From here, we're going to use our 3mm beads. So we're starting with the smallest and we're going to bigger. On both the left and then right needle, I want you to put a 15, 11, 3mm, 11, 15. If you struggle with doing 2 needles, practice does make it better, but also you can always stick the needle on the right down, use your right hand with the left hand needle, and then pick it back up. Once you have that collection on there of 15, 11, 3, 11, 15, you're going to take your threaded needle and go backwards. So this time we're going to cross through that 6-0 at the start again. So the right needle stays on the right side and goes over to the left, kind of push it to the top of the design. And then the needle that's on the left goes through from the left and comes out through the right. When you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're not sewing by accident through any of your 15-0 seed beads. As that comes down, you can give a nice little tight pull. And once again, if you want to, this bracelet is cute just as is. You can go ahead and keep this bracelet the way that it is, continuing on the design. We're going to create an X in the middle. So in the middle here, we have our 2s on the side, 3 right there in the opal, the 6s and the 4s. We're going to create that crisscross look in the center of the bracelet. How to do that? The needle that is currently on the right-hand side, I'm going to take my needle and thread through the 15 and the 11, leading up toward the 3 millimeter. Pull that out, add a 15, or sorry, an 11, add a 4, add an 11, crisscross to the other side, going through the 11 and the 15 after the 3 on the left. Once we do that, I want you to crisscross through the 6 and just let that needle hang out there on the right-hand side, putting it into your design. From here, I'm going to pick up the needle that's on the left. You'll notice I'm using my right hand just because it's easier and natural. Going through the 15 and the 11 on the left prior to that 3 millimeter crystal that we just added. Add one more 11-0 seed bead. Grab onto that 4 millimeter that's already there, starting at the upper edge and sewing through towards the first 11-0 that was on that left-hand side. So see how you're going in there? Basically sewing down through that crystal. Grab one more 11 and then go up through the 11 and the 15 after the 3 millimeter on that opposite side. Give a nice tight pull and go through the 6, crisscrossing. Do a tight pull, and there you have the first unit. This is also a great pair of earrings. We're going to continue and do our next component, which is the exact same. With my right hand, I have a 15 and 11, 3 2s, 11, 15, and 6. Let that hang out there. I'm going to pick up the left needle with my right hand because I can sew faster. Although I do like to use both needles at the same time. Go in and do your seed bead collection of 15, 11, 3 2s, and then 11, 15. And you're going to crisscross through that 6 that's already there. From here, we're just on repeat. Back down the sides with the 15, 11, 3, 11, 15, and then crossing through the 6 on the same side. So I'm on the left and I'm going through the 6, backtracking over to the right. Again, when you go through that 6, make sure that you don't go through any 15s. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side, going through and adding that bead. So it's just a repeat of the exact same thing now with each design. If you have trouble remembering which beads to put on next, you're going from smallest to biggest. So you're starting out with your 2s, then you go to your 3 millimeter beads, and then the final hurrah is to put on the 4 in between the middle, basically, of those 3s. So once again, pick up your needle that's on the right now, sew through the 15 and the 11, and it's just this repetitive process over and over. Add an 11, add a 4, add an 11, switch over to the other side, crisscrossing across, go through the 11 and the 15, after the 3 millimeter that's on the left, and then once again through that 6. On the opposite side, just to reinforce and show one more time, the needle that's on the left now is going to go up through the 15 and the 11 prior to the 3 on the left, add an 11, so down basically the 4 millimeter that's already there, sharing it, crisscrossing through, just like we do the 6, that's how we're crisscrossing through the 4, add an 11, so through the 11 and the 15 that are already there after the 3, and cross over to the left-hand side. When you're at the end of each component, just put your project down and give it a nice little tight pull, making sure your X goes to the top. You'll have a little bit of a curvature to it, but not much. It perks up just the tiniest little bit. And we're going to continue with this very blingy, very simple design, letting bicones be bicones. Once you're done the project, the last thing to do is to add the other side of the clasp. So I have the tongue clasp here coming out of my last 6, and we're just going to mirror what we did on the button. So remember on the button, we used 3 of our 11s through the clasp, 3 11s, and then reinforced it. we're going to do the exact same thing, making sure that your tongue of your clasp is sitting upright because you don't want it to go in opposite. Put on 3 11s through that soldered end, 3 11s, and then once again sewing back through that 6mm bead. I'm going to let that hang out there, grab the other end, reinforce, going back through the 3s, the clasp, and then through the 3s and bringing it down to the side. Whichever thread has more, I'm going to reinforce one more time, going through all of those beads, one more go round, taking the needle and thread to the same spot and literally just tying off the bracelet to finish it off. And I love the contrast that you can get with all different colors and all different beads. It was really a pleasure to make this one, and I hope you guys enjoy. Remember, if you have any questions, change up size, or even have color suggestions, go ahead and put it in the comments below the video on YouTube. We'd love to see it and have all the other Potomac beaders be able to learn from one another. Thanks so much for joining me in the Let Bicones Be Bicones crystal bracelet. Remember, if you do need any materials, and I can't wait to see all the different colors of this bracelet, go ahead and check below the video, as well as on the side. Don't forget, if you haven't yet, to subscribe so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. We look forward to bringing you more inspirational videos, so stay tuned.